I'd like to welcome everyone to this presentation on school garden to cafeteria programs in Miami-Dade Public Schools. My name is Debbie LaBelle and I am the Program Manager for Food Forest for Schools with the Education Fund. Today we are going to talk about incorporating school garden produce into the cafeteria meals. With the support of Miami-Dade Public Schools Food and Nutrition, I have been helping to assist our program schools to utilize garden produce for the last 5 years in their cafeteria and would like to share some of my findings with everyone today. Some of the things we will talk about will be the difference between farm to school and garden to cafeteria, the connections between school cafeteria staff and teachers, in what ways can garden produce be incorporated into the existing menu, and the procedures that outline a safe way to incorporate the produce. Most importantly, we're going to talk about what we are growing in the public schools and what it is possible to grow. Stay tuned. One of the ongoing projects between Food and Nutrition and the Education Fund has been trainings on school garden to cafeteria. Over the last 5 years, we've offered a variety of options for cafeteria managers to become involved with their school gardens. And in our 51 supported program schools, we have offered a variety of trainings. And this is just an extension of hopefully trying to get more cafeteria managers involved. So in the next slide, I'm going to go over the difference between a garden to cafeteria and a farm to school. Hi, so now we're going to explore the difference between a more commonly known farm to school and the school garden to cafeteria. So with farm to school, the Department of Food and Nutrition partners with local and regional farms to feature Florida-grown fruit and vegetables within the federally reimbursed meal program. This is done through the Department of Agriculture, and Food and Nutrition works with a procurement process to collect fruits and vegetables that they can use across all of Miami-Dade public schools. The difference between the school garden to cafeteria is it's more hyper-local. Everything is grown at the school site and brought to the cafeteria and used. Students and teachers grow all the produce that would be used in the school garden to cafeteria program, and lessons would be incorporated into all of the garden produce. So the students are actually learning science as they grow these fruits and vegetables before it comes to the cafeteria. And as one of those lessons is to harvest the greens that are being grown and fruit. So the students learn how to pick it, how to clean it, how to take care of it. And the most exciting benefit from this is that when they see it in the cafeteria line, they recognize it. They've grown it, they planted the seed, they planted the plant, they watched it grow, they measured its process, and then when they see it in the cafeteria, they knew that they had a hand in growing it and making that happen. So they're more willing to eat what they've spent so much time and effort to grow. We have found the most important way for the school garden to cafeteria program to be successful is 4 connections. The connection between food service cafeteria staff and teachers, and how it all interacts with the students. I always encourage the food service staff to talk to the teachers to find out if there's a garden at your school. You may not realize that there is a garden growing at your school. And then if you talk to the teacher, and if there's something specific that you would like to have grown that you could use in the cafeteria, then bring it up to that person or that teacher. Sometimes just saying, hey, can you grow me some peppers? Or I'd love to have culantro grown in the school garden. makes such a big difference. It needs to be a collaboration between the teachers and the cafeteria staff. Student interaction is also very important. When the students see the produce being grown, it makes such a difference. They want to eat something that they've watched grow and had to have patience and wait for it to ripen and produce fully. By growing it, the students are nourishing not only their minds, but they can nourish their bodies if we give them an outlet and a way for them to eat what they have grown at the school. It improves their nutrition, it improves their science scores. They open their minds to trying new flavors and tastes when it's incorporated into their food. The food service staff is integral to helping this happen. Entire classes or sometimes grade levels are involved in watching something grow. And when they can taste it in the cafeteria and in the food, it makes such a big difference. Sometimes the flavor of something alone isn't as appetizing as putting it into a dish and incorporating it into a meal. It's very important. We're not asking for anything to be taken off of the school menu. No school is going to grow enough produce to remove something from the school cafeteria menu. We only ask that it's integrated into the existing menu, whether it's adding a little rosemary or herbs to a dish to give it flavor, or flavoring some water, or adding some of the greens to the existing salad. It makes such a big difference when the students recognize something that they have grown in the menu. In the next couple of slides, we're going to show, I'm going to let you slide through them and watch them. I show some examples of, in the next slide, Twin Lakes and Myrtle Grove Elementaries, how they've incorporated the cafeteria manager uses what's being grown at the schools, as well as Joella C. Good Elementary and Ernest Graham Elementary. Riverside Elementary also has a robust garden with very small footprint of space available to grow the produce, but in that small space they actually grow a lot, and it's in a central area where the students actually see it daily. They have to walk past the gardens every day and they can watch things grow. On the fourth side, students are excited to eat what they grow. It really, I can't emphasize this enough, the students watching something grow, they get excited to try it. They get excited to try those flavors, and it's so important. On the next slide, the connection with nature also makes a big difference. We've really disassociated ourselves from what is being grown versus what we see at the grocery stores. A lot of the produce that we see at the grocery stores isn't necessarily what is easily grown here in Miami, but we grow a lot of similar items that are even more nutritious than what you see in a grocery store. But we need to bring back to the students that connection to nature and to realize that spinach in a bag at the grocery store is actually a plant, and that somebody had to grow it and that somebody had to harvest it in order for them to eat it. Hence why we really try to foster this connection to nature so that the students and the staff and the teachers, I've seen adults go crazy when we pull a carrot out of the ground because they've never seen a carrot grown. So all of these things are connected and make such a big difference in the students' lives. for about the past 5 or 6 years now, in your binders, there has been a food service procedure called B18. B18 covers how to incorporate anything that is being grown in your school gardens into the cafeteria for consumption. The purpose was to directly incorporate that produce that is grown at a specific school into the cafeteria or for use at the school site. It includes HACCP standards for washing, receiving and storing, and serving. I found that it's up to each individual school as far as the washing procedures. I found that some managers like to receive the produce pre-washed by the students and the teachers. Some like to wash it themselves. How to receive it, definitely we want it to be in food safe containers, not necessarily thrown into a garbage bag and brought into the cafeteria, because it can be misconstrued that way. It's not garbage. So if a teacher asks you for a container that they could put the produce in, and when the students harvest it, they can bring it to you, be open, be honest, talk to them. Tell them what day it's good for you to receive something. Tell them if you would like it to be pre-washed, or at least have a majority of the dirt washed off of it, and so that all you have to do is a quick rinse. I found that honesty is the best policy. Be honest with the teachers and the students when they, on when you can receive things. If you can store it is also a big deal. I know refrigeration space sometimes is a commodity, and there's no room in your refrigerators. So work out a schedule with your teacher. If they bring something, say this is the size container that I can manage to store. Say this is how we can do this. Bring it in the morning, in the afternoon, when you have time available to get it, how you want it washed. Be honest on everything, and I think the best relationships are fostered off of that. If you would like to read the B18, if you go to nutrition.dadeschools.net, the link is on the following page, then you can always access the B18 to go through the individual points of the standards and the procedures. Very easy to understand, and I think most of it is pretty common sense, such as the produce needs to be washed, it needs to be kept clean, it needs to be in those food service containers, and you can only use produce that is grown at your particular school site in that cafeteria to prevent cross-contamination. We don't want anything coming from a different school to be used in your cafeteria. But all pretty simple and straightforward procedures. In the next couple slides, we're going to be looking at different edible plants that are growing in a lot of our school gardens and how you can incorporate them into the cafeteria. We try not to add too much work for the cafeteria staff. I know you guys are working hard, and I know you guys have plenty to do already, but with a few easy, simple steps and knowledge of the different plants that are growing, you can add a lot of flavor to your meals. The students are going to be more excited about what they eat, and you don't really have to add a lot of extra time to your preparation time. And there's not a lot that you have to do to get that flavor into the food. So we're going to be looking at some spinaches that we grow. There's a lot of tropical spinach that we grow here in our school gardens. There's about 4 or 5 different varieties that grow very easily and can be used in conjunction with regular bagged spinach that you might be receiving through your produce deliveries. Other greens that are growing in the schools that are just as nutritious and can be used as salad mixes and mixed in, and sometimes it adds a lot of color, it adds a lot of flavor, and like I said, the students, when they recognize something that they've grown and that they might like eating in their school garden, when they see it in those salad mixes, they are definitely more apt to eat it when they know that they had a hand in growing it. Fruit, and how to incorporate fruit into the school lunches. And teas and water infusions are my absolute favorite. The teas help keep everybody healthy. And then the water infusions, we can't, drinking water and staying hydrated here in South Florida is so important. And when we add in some flavored herbs and some fruit, sometimes it makes a world of difference. And they taste amazing and they're so good for you. And then I'm going to show you some recipes that you might have on your current menu and how we can incorporate some of these items that are growing in the school gardens into the menu with minimal effort on your part. My goal here is not to add more work to your day. Let's talk spinach. Like I said earlier, we grow a lot of tropical spinaches here in South Florida that can't necessarily be grown other places. They may not be as recognizable as what you might see at the grocery store, but we have so much more variety, and they are such cool greens that they are wonderful in meals. While not all of them are technically classified as spinach, for ease of use, we call them spinach just because, they are the most similar. They are a type of green that they are very similar to spinach in their properties, and they can be used interchangeably with spinach. So if you were to get into the scientific classifications, they may not be as spinach, but like I said, they are perfectly interchangeable with the spinach and are delicious and colorful and gorgeous greens and loaded with nutrients and super healthy for you. So when you're using them in the cafeterias, you can use them to mix into scrambled eggs. You can mix them in with your existing salad mix. As you'll see in some of these, the colors are just amazing and they're beautiful. And when you mix them in with your existing salad, the students recognize it and love it. With sandwiches, if you were to take some of these spinaches and in the different wraps and sandwiches, if you were to replace it with the homegrown spinach or the garden spinach, it adds so much more flavor and the students will get excited. And the same with cooked vegetables. You can add the spinach in with the vegetables if you think it's necessary. But like I said, I'm not trying to add you more work. So that one might be a little bit more than you're willing to take on, and that's fine. I would recommend at the very beginning, if you are open to this, that add it into your existing salads. That's the easiest way to do it. You can take it, most of these are smaller leaves, and you can take them and just toss them in with the bagged salad mixes that you get from your purveyor, and they will add the color and they will add the flavor to your salads. Okay, here are some of the spinach that we grow and encourage the teachers to grow at the schools. Brazilian spinach, it's a low, very dark green leaf. It's very kind of curlied up. It's also known as CISO spinach. It grows great in the shade. It tends to be crunchy. It cooks down. This one is a little bit of a tougher leaf if it's grown in direct sunlight. It's softer of a leaf if it's grown more in the shade, but it's got a very strong flavor. It's super high in vitamin A. All of these are high in vitamin A and great for your eyes. They're loaded with nutrients and super healthy for you. The middle spinach here that we show, we call it a Filipino spinach. It has these beautiful little pink flowers that you can add into the salads as well. The flowers are perfectly edible. The leaves are small. They're very tender and also crunchy. And the Filipino spinach is actually part of the ginseng family, so it has loads of health benefits for you. The longevity spinach on the far right of the slide is one of my favorite spinaches that we grow. It kind of grows as a vine. It has these long, broad leaves, and it's super crunchy. You can tear it up by your hand and toss it in with things, with your salad or however you want to prepare it. It's nice and crunchy. It's got a great flavor. It's not too overpowering, but it's got a very nice and gentle flavor that is super healthy for you. Here are 3 different types of spinach, or up to 6 different flavors that we offer in the school gardens. The Malabar spinach is nice flavored. It's got a larger leaf and it's got a long vine. This one isn't as common in the schools, but it grows really well in the shade. And when it does grow, it's prolific. It grows so much spinach and it's very, very healthy. The middle spinach is a perpetual spinach. Now this is something that the students can and the teachers can grow. It's probably the most similar to what you would find in the grocery stores. This one does take a little care. The students and the teachers would have to pay a little attention to this one and make sure that it receives the proper care to grow properly, but it is the most common to what you would find in the grocery stores. On the right, the Okinawa spinach is, again, one of my favorites. If it grows in the shade, the underside of the leaf is just beautiful. It's going to be this beautiful dark royal purple color, and the top will be a nice bright green. If it grows in a little bit more of a sunlight area, the purple will be less pronounced. It'll be a little bit more like a violet than a deep royal purple, but it has just as much flavor. You can cut this up, you can tear it up. It's delicious and high in nutrients. It's amazing. It also still has a little bit of a light flavor, so it's a very good all-around use spinach. It would go anywhere. Okay, some other greens that you might find in the school gardens. They may not be as common. You won't get as huge amounts of them, but something that the teachers may want to give you. You'll find that there are still uses that you can use in the cafeteria for them, similar to the spinaches. You can add them to the scrambled eggs. Some of them you could add to the salads, in sandwiches and wraps, while others might need to get cooked. So some of these other greens that you might find are kale, collards. I would definitely recommend cooking the collards. Maybe this would be something great to plan out with your teacher to do around like Thanksgiving time. If they plant it right at the beginning of the school year, the collards will be perfect by the end of November. And if you were to do like Thanksgiving, or a specific teacher wanted to do something special for the holidays, this is a great green that you can grow. Collards will also grow for multiple years. Usually we can get about 2 to 3 years out of one plant. So if a teacher were to plant collards or a cabbage even in the winter to spring, it will grow usually for multiple years, and you can get quite a few harvests out of it. It's also great to be used all different ways. But we are going to, the next few slides, we're going to look at different greens that you might find growing and how to use them. So these 3 greens you would find probably the most commonly in the gardens that we support. We find that the students like them. and they are very easy to grow with minimal babying, and they hold up very well in our climate, no matter if it's dry, if we get a lot of rain, if we get too little rain. These are very easy to grow. Moringa is also known as the drumstick tree, also known as the vitamin tree. Each leaf is packed full of nutrients. It's almost a complete protein. It's actually considered a complete protein. So by mixing this in to different salads or greens, you are packing your dishes full of vitamins. It's also kind of known as the horseradish tree. So it has a little bit of a peppery flavor, the leaves do, but the leaves are very tiny. So if you were to add even a little bit of leaves or a couple leaves into dishes, it might give it a little bit of a peppery flavor, but it also packs it full of those nutrients. The middle one is cranberry hibiscus. That is hands down every student's favorite green. Its name matches its flavor. It has that sweet tart flavor. It tastes kind of cranberry. When you add this to your salads, the kids will definitely notice it, and they will definitely love those salads. A lot of times in our gardens, we have a hard time growing enough of it because the students will pick it down to stems and they just pop the leaves straight in their mouths and they love it. On a side note, the cranberry hibiscus or anything dark, deep red like the cranberry hibiscus is great for your heart. It's great for your circulatory system and for lowering blood pressure. And later on, we're going to show different ways, not just in salads and other greens, other ways that you can prepare this that has a lot of health benefits. And on your right, we have kale. There's multiple kinds of kale that grow in our school gardens, and we encourage the kids to try different varieties. So while they are still in the kale family, you will see a big difference between the shape and the size of leaf, even the colors of the leaves. The top kale variety is probably our most commonly found one in the gardens because it grows with very little care. This grows great from anywhere at the beginning of the school year all the way through to about April, probably beginning of May, and then the heat gets to it and it gets a little harder to grow. But pretty much the entire school year this will grow. If you pick the leaves from the bottom, don't ever cut the top of the kale off because that'll kill the plant. But if you pinch the leaves off from the bottom, it grows wonderfully and it will grow throughout the school year and provide so much produce and so many greens for you to use, and it's super healthy. So that top one is dinosaur kale. It's called the dinosaur because it's got this ridged kind of reptilian looking leaf to it. And the kids, again, it's one of the kids' favorites, and that's why we also encourage them to grow it. Here are two greens where one may be familiar and the other not so much. Katuk is a green that comes from Asia, and it's something that we really like to plant in our food forests and gardens because it's so easy to grow. You can trim it back and the next week it's grown right back. It really doesn't require a lot of care and it tastes amazing. The leaves are all edible. It's also known as sweet leaf in Thailand, and it has a really faint nutty flavor, and it's super tender and easy to mix into salads, or it can be cooked with. It also has these little white, we call them katuk nuts, but they're the seed pods, and they're crunchy, and they're my favorite snack when I'm working outside in the garden. But they're just really yummy to add into dishes and salads, and everything is edible. So if you have these growing in your school, I highly recommend you at least try them. And if you can use them in the cooking, then it's great too, because I cook with this all the time. The other green, arugula, some of our schools will grow. It's very easy. It has a little bit of a spicy flavor, and you can add it into your salads very easily. Arugula is pretty common, but usually will only grow in the winter. Once it starts getting warmer out, it has a hard time bearing up under the sun of our heat. So that's it on the other greens. I'll see you next slide. Okay, herbs and spices. Herbs are an easy and delicious way to add a lot of flavor to your meals without a lot of work. It doesn't take a lot of herbs to flavor a dish, and it depends. Some of the herbs you can add right into the dishes. Some of the herbs, if you cook with them, it's going to add a lot of flavor. And sometimes just not even doing a whole lot, but adding a handful of some of these leaves will make a big difference in the dish. And it's just a very easy way to incorporate what's being grown in your school garden into your meals, and it also gets the students really used to these flavors. Even some of these are very strong flavored, and it adds a little pop of flavor, a little pop of color into your dishes. If you're unsure, sometimes I recommend that you maybe chop them up and have them on the side. And if it's like a pasta dish and you have some basil, you can even offer to put it on top of the dish. So it's the student's choice of whether to add it or not. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Herbs, great. They flavor usually very bold, bright colors. You can add them to the water and infused water. You can add them to flavor rice. A lot of times you don't even need to chop them up if you're going to flavor the rice. When you're cooking the rice, you just pop it in there, and while the rice is cooking, it distributes all that flavor. Again, you can always add herbs to salads. I love adding mint and a lot of herbs to my salads. It adds so much flavor. Tea helps keep us healthy, and like I said, as a garnish, you can just sprinkle it on top. You can even ask if the students coming through if they would like a little basil, or if they would like a little bit of herb on top of their dish, and then it's the student's choice of whether they like to try it or not. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about basil. We encourage our teachers to grow. There's two types of basil that grow very well here in South Florida, and it's not as symptomatic to some of the common Italian basil issues. It's a little hot here for the Italian basil, or what you would normally see in the grocery store. So instead, we encourage our teachers to grow African blue basil. It'll form a huge bush, and it's very similar to the Italian basil, and you can cut it up and cook it just the same. And then the other basil that we recommend for our school gardens, because it grows without a lot of effort, is Tulsi or holy basil. And this is a little bit different. It has a bit of a spiciness to it. But it can be used, honestly, basil is basil, and it all can be interchanged. It'll add so much flavor to your dishes. And oregano. So what you may be used to seeing in the grocery store, or what comes in, dried in containers, is a Greek oregano. That tends to grow here in South Florida pretty well over the winter when it's cooler and a little bit drier, but it a lot of times doesn't like the rain so much, and the sun is a little too hot for it. What does grow well here and prolifically grows is the Cuban oregano. And on the far right, we have a picture of, this is a variegated version. Sometimes it doesn't have the white on the tips, but it's very thick. It's got a very thick leaf, and it's fuzzy, kind of like a peach, but the flavor is amazing. And you can chop it up just like you would the Greek oregano and add it to things like roasted chicken, pizza, pasta, steamed vegetables. You can even, like I said, offer it on the side for students to choose. but it's very strong in flavor and it's very good for keeping you healthy. The Cuban oregano is especially if you're feeling like you have a cold, it will help break up the mucus in your chest. So, especially in the middle of winter when a lot of the kids are getting sick, I recommend that they try eating this and we add it to the waters because it helps keep everybody healthy. Mint and rosemary. We can grow lots of different kinds of mint, and this is something that maybe your input would be welcome to the teachers. A lot of our schools will grow many different varieties of mint. They have orange mint, chocolate mint, pineapple mint, spearmint, peppermint. We have a picture here of Costa Rican mint, and it's more of a bush type mint. It's got a very strong flavor. Again, you can just chop it up, add it to dishes. Flavoring waters are very good. It's nice and refreshing. But there are so many types of mint out there, and it's so much fun to play and see how one plant family can have so many different flavors and have it be such a different variety. Rosemary also grows. You don't need to have good soil. It'll grow pretty much anywhere. Rosemary, I like to put it in a garden and completely forget about it, and when you look at it again, a lot of times it's tripled in size. If you baby it, it has a hard time. If you just let it do its thing, rosemary is great. It grows so well, and it provides so much flavor that you can add to your dishes. I just want to give a little spotlight on this lime, kaffir lime. So this is a lime tree that comes out of Thailand, and in a lot of Thai dishes, you'll recognize the flavor. It's very similar to doing just a squeeze or juice of lime. But the tree, when we grow it, and in all of our schools, we try to have this growing, it's a leaf crop. What's valuable on it is the leaf and not necessarily the actual fruit itself. When you're cooking and making rices and soups or things like that, if you add that lime, you get all the benefits of the citrus without actually having to do any chopping, any cutting, nothing. You just have to throw the leaf in the dish and it's going to flavor it. It's amazing. And one of my favorite things to cook with. Tarragon as well. Tarragon will grow down here in South Florida, and it grows very well in the heat. If you have a little shady spot, it'll grow great, and it's a way to provide a lot of flavor. Just want to take a second to talk about root crops really quick. Very easily we can grow these three items in our school gardens. They do like a little bit of shade, but it's so easy and it makes such a pretty plant, and when you're ready to use it, you just have to dig into the ground a little bit, and these are all 3 rhizomes. Great for science, for the kids to teach them the difference, but it is a root crop. And the turmeric is very good for keeping you healthy. It's an anti-inflammatory. It has a beautiful flower and leaf, and you harvest it about once a year. But when you do harvest it, it has a great yellow dye color that you can be careful if you're cooking with it because your hands will turn yellow. But it's very healthy. There's a ton of health benefits for you. The same with ginger and galangal. Ginger, everybody knows ginger. It's great wintertime when everybody's sick. Can't get enough ginger. It helps boost your immune system. And the same with galangal. All 3 are rhizomes, and they're all in kind of the same family. Galangal is a little bit spicier than ginger. In our schools, we recommend the ginger. There's a variety of ginger that grows that you can actually use the leaf also in cooking. So like again, if you were going to make a rice and you wanted to put that ginger flavor in, all you had to do is cut a leaf off and put it in the rice cooker, and you'll get those wonderful health benefits and flavor out of it. Okay, real quick, I just want to touch on some other vegetables that might be growing in your school gardens that your teachers may contact you about, or that you can even request. So plantains. Plantains will grow very easy. They need a lot of nutrients, so when we grow in our school gardens, we recommend that the teachers also do some composting and keep the soil very nutrient rich, and you'll have a ton of plantains that can grow, which you can then cut up and cook. I know we have the Hispanic Heritage Month. A lot of our teachers and cafeteria managers will sometimes work together to use something that the students have grown to showcase. Plantains grow very plentifully here. Peppers are another really fun. There's so many varieties of peppers out there, from sweet to spicy to super spicy. And it's always fun to watch them grow. They come in every color imaginable. I always grow peppers in my yard, and they love the heat, they love the sun, they love the hot and the humidity. So you can definitely grow all sorts of different peppers. Again, ranging from sweet all the way to the super spicy. The winged bean is just a fun seed that we have grown in some of our schools. It's this really funky long bean that's like kind of wavy and frilly. But a lot of our schools, especially any kind of a box garden, beans grow very easily. And doesn't necessarily have to be a winged bean, but it could be a green bean or anything else. If you have green beans on your lunch menu already and the teacher hands you a handful of beans, then it's garden to cafeteria if you just add in a few of those garden greens as well. Fruits. I just want to touch a little bit on the fruits. We don't generally grow enough fruit to really serve to the entire school, but it is kind of cute and nice sometimes if we can prepare the fruit for that specific grade level that grew it, or just to incorporate it into something. That students are usually very, very proud when they grow some fruit, and they love giving it out and seeing other people appreciate what they have grown. So it can always be added into some fruit salad, even if we cut it up and put it into some portion cups, or as a snack, or incorporate it into your smoothies that you serve occasionally. But I'm going to go into some of the tropical fruits that might be growing in your schools and how you can use them. Students love to see bananas grow, and it's so much fun when you cut this huge bunch of bananas down, and we can grow everything from red bananas to those plantains to blue Java bananas, and it's so cool to see all the different colors and varieties and types that grow. We recommend when the schools grow to look at dwarf varieties so that they don't become too tall and they can't be harvested easily. But bananas, when you have a homegrown banana, you realize how flavorless a lot of the store-bought ones are, and it's just really cool to get kids to eat bananas. Barbados cherry, or an acerola cherry. So this is a tropical cherry that will grow perfectly well here in the southeast. It's originally from Barbados. I've talked to people from all over the Caribbean that said that they grew up eating these. They're very sweet and kind of a sweet tart. It actually has, one cherry has a vitamin C of 18 oranges. So it does have a little bit of a tartness to it. And there are 3 soft seeds, not one hard pit in the middle. There are 3 softer seeds, but it's delicious and it will keep you healthy. I like to freeze them sometimes. If there's a ton of them, I'll freeze them and I'll add them to water. and really get those health benefits out of it. The cotton candy fruit, good luck getting these from the kids, because if it's growing at the school, the kids are eating them like crazy, which is always a good thing, that kids are willingly eating fruit. It actually is a variety of guava, and it's about the size of a blueberry, but when you taste it, it tastes just like cotton candy. It's super, super sweet. It's a burst of flavor in your mouth. The kids love it. If you have a tree at your school, you need to find out about it and you need to try it because it's amazing. Okay, here are 3 more fruit that are delicious and growing in a lot of schools. Papaya or frutabomba grows super well, and just like in this picture, a lot of times the tree will be loaded with so many fruit. This one you might have a hard time using in a preparation for a large group of people, but sometimes if you just chop some up, or if you add a smoothie, or the teacher asks you to maybe blend it up for them, that they can add into a smoothie, it's great. The kids have a blast, and then there's so many seeds that kids can make a science lesson afterwards with all of the seeds and maybe try to make some starter plants out of all the seeds. And then it's always kind of cool. You can take it home with them and start papaya trees of their own. Pineapple. If you have pineapple growing at your school, I would recommend asking the teacher about it. A lot of times these are great for science lessons and the students watch them grow. I don't recommend taking the pineapples out of the garden unless you've communicated with the teachers, because a lot of times the science component is in strong play with the teachers, and they're measuring and watching these pineapples grow. I know a lot of our teachers have problems sometimes with the pineapples disappear on them before the students get to see it fully ripen, and the students are always very sad about that. And the plums. So this is a picture of a June plum. This may be growing at your schools. It's another Caribbean plum. We can also grow hog plum, and we can grow a June plum, which comes from Japan, and all 3 are delicious. And unless the tree gets really big, you might have a hard time getting enough fruit for the school, but it's always good to know how to identify it. So teas and water infusions. If you just heat a little water up and put a lot of the herbs that we've already previously discussed into the teapots, you can get a lot of the health benefits out of them, as well as flavor the water. Everybody loves teas, especially in the winter time when the kids are maybe coming in sick or sniffly. These teas are great for boosting your immune system. And even if the tea might take a little too much time or your staff is overwhelmed, talk to the teachers or the administrators about possibly getting a nice water dispenser with like a spigot on it, and all you have to do is maybe go clip a couple of herbs or ask your teacher to bring you in some herbs, and you just fill it up with some ice water. And if the students want it, it's been really successful in some of our schools to have a couple containers around the cafeteria, and if the students want to fill up their water bottles with the flavored water, it really brightens their day to see these bright and colorful containers filled with fresh fruit or herbs coming straight from their garden. And we will talk a little bit about some items that you can put in that will flavor the waters deliciously. Okay, these 3 items make always a great water. The Jamaican sorrel or roselle is a green that will grow all spring and summer, and then about the end of September, beginning of October, it'll start to flower and the calyxes swell, which makes these bright red fruit that are delicious. And if you've ever bought or purchased the Roselle tea, it grows perfectly here, and we can grow this very easily in our school gardens. So when you brew it up, if you heat it up, it'll make a nice bright red drink. If you just put it into flavor the water, you get all those health benefits. It's great for that, again, that dark red color will help lower your blood pressure, and it's just really good for your cardiovascular system. The middle one, the butterfly pea, this is a vine that grows very easily in all of our gardens. It's great for attracting pollinators, butterflies, and it's this gorgeous bright blue flower. When you brew it up, it makes a really pretty blue tea. The blue color is full of anthocyanins, which help keep us looking young, and is just really healthy for you. If you add a little bit of acid, so a little bit of lemon juice into the butterfly pea tea, it will actually turn it from bright blue to a magenta color, and it's really cool. The students really love to see the color change on that one. We do have a couple science lessons that we encourage teachers to use, and I know that they actively play around with the students because it's really cool to see that chemical change. And we talked about the cranberry hibiscus a little bit earlier. You can use the leaves and the flowers. It adds a little bit of sour. You put a slice of orange in that water with the cranberry, and it's like autumn in a glass. It's so yummy. And again, that dark red color is great for lowering blood pressure and keeping you healthy. Okay, these three, Mujan tea. So this is a bush that comes out of the Bahamas. Grows very well here. It kind of looks like thyme, but it's not. It's a pineapple verbena. Verbena is great for calming people down and relaxing. So if the students are really anxious about tests or things that are going on at the school, the Mujan tea, if you flavor water or make tea out of it, it's amazing. It's got this citrusy kind of vanilla smell and flavor to it that's just delicious. The mint we talked about earlier, I said you can have everything from chocolate mint to pineapple mint to all different flavors of mint are always nice and bright and refreshing, especially at the beginning of the school year when it's very hot, and at the end of the school year when the students may be feeling overwhelmed by the heat. And lastly, stevia is something fun that the teachers can grow in their gardens, and that is a natural sweetener. You might see it at the grocery stores in a powdered form, but the stevia will grow very well here in South Florida, and they can easily grow it in their gardens and add it in. So if you were to make like a lemonade with mint and you added a little bit of stevia, you really wouldn't have to add any kind of sugar to it. The stevia will sweeten it naturally just by the leaf. Okay, and lastly, I just want to talk about our lemony herbs. Lemongrass grows very, very easily in the school gardens. It's very good for you. Again, helps boost your immune system and keeps everybody healthy. All you have to do is, I tell the teachers, give it a haircut and cut the tips off, and you can brew it or you can add it to your dishes. Like if you're doing rice, all you have to do is add those leaves while the rice is cooking, and before you serve it, you just have to take the leaves out, and your rice will have a nice lemony flavor. Again, with drinking all three of these, the lemon verbena and lemon balm, you can use to add that nice lemony flavor. And like I was saying, with no effort cooking earlier, we're not looking to give anybody extra work. A lot of these you don't even need to chop up if you cut them or you have the pieces and you just added them to some tea or that infused water, all that lemon flavor is going to come out without even needing to chop it. And lemon is just yummy. Okay, now that we've gone over all of these fun herbs and different flavors that we can add to waters and teas, I just want to kind of here are some quick and easy recipes and some mixes that you can put together that the students will love. You know, a little bit of cucumber, lemon, and mint is always so refreshing, especially at the beginning of the school year when it's so hot. Lemongrass and mint will perk them up on a hot day. Butterfly pea and lemon verbena. There's that butterfly pea will be blue, and if you brew it with a little bit of lemon verbena, it might turn into this crazy magenta color that the kids just love. Kaffir lime leaves, those lime tree leaves that are amazing, and basil. Again, just nice and bright. Lemon bay and sorrel. And the lemon bay is another tree that might be growing at your school that's nice and lemony flavored with that sorrel, or you could do any of those lemongrass and lemon balm with the sorrel. And the cranberry hibiscus and ginger are just yummy together. Again, that will be great around the holidays for that nice bright red color and really bring out all those flavors, but it also brings all those health benefits of keeping the kids healthy. School lunch menus. I know earlier I had kind of touched on we're not looking to take anything, replace any of the items on your school lunch menu. We just want to enhance it. Hence the herbs and the spices that can help you to just make your meals even better. And if it's growing at your school, then it doesn't get more local or fresher than that. All of the gardens that we support are organic and don't have any kind of chemicals. So anything that you add to the menu is just enhancing it. So it helps when you and the teacher kind of look together, or if you look together, or you kind of give your teacher a heads up that runs the garden and say, hey, you know, we have beans and rice coming up on Thursday. If you have any cilantro growing in your garden or culantro, I could definitely use it. I think it helps. Again, that open lines of communication really help things. Or if you just ask your teacher, where is the cilantro or the culantro or any other herb that you're thinking of using in the menu, maybe they'll show it to you so that when you get in the morning, if you want to go out in the garden, take a look, or maybe clip a few herbs or leaves to add to your menu, I think it just enhances the meal. I'm just going to summarize the next few slides up. So anywhere you see on the menu where it says like a turkey and cheese panini with spinach, we can replace with those items that are growing in the garden, similar to those the six different greens that I showed you earlier that said spinach. So this can be used in the panini. This can be used in the wrap. On the roasted chicken, if you have some rosemary from your garden that was chopped up that morning, you can, just sprinkle it on top, or some roasted vegetables or steamed vegetables that you're cooking for the menu item that day. By adding a little bit of rosemary or a little bit of basil, can really enhance the flavors without a lot of extra work. Rice is probably one of the easiest ways to add in some of the herbs that are growing at your school. Similar, like the lemongrass or that kaffir lime. All you have to do is wash the herbs off, pop them in while you're cooking the rice, and take them out before serving, and you're going to get the flavor. As long as they're sitting in the water while the rice is cooking, all that flavor is going to get in the rice, and with literally no preparation or effort on your part. But it makes a really big impact when you're cooking, and at the end, when the students eat it and they taste all those flavors, it really transfers into the rice. And all the health benefits are getting across into there. So rice is one of my favorite entry-level ways of adding flavor into the dishes with minimal effort. Okay, I'm just going to summarize the next couple slides again. The burrito, you can add some cilantro, some mint, or some basil. Again, you can put it into the burrito, you can put it on top of the burrito, or you can just have it in a little dish next to where you're serving it and offer the students the option of adding it to the meal or sprinkling it right on top so that they make that decision. Red beans or a chili, you can mix it in, or you can, again, offer it to sprinkle it right on top. Same with the steamed vegetables or the pasta. If you're having pasta on your menu, if you just have it sitting next to you, and as the student's getting the dish, would you like a little basil onto it? Boom, it's a way to add the garden produce that they might have helped grow into their dish that they're eating. Okay, real quick, I just want to look at the fruit. So most of the things and items that you may be getting from the garden are more easily adapted into the lunch dishes, but for fruit, it may work in the breakfast. You know, I know a lot of the breakfasts have the fruit parfaits and the yogurt parfaits. So by adding in a little bit of fresh fruit from the garden, this is where the papaya or those bananas may come in handy. It's really good for the kids to see and know. And when you serve it, advertising it, that this is the papaya that the students grew. Another option that you could do, this is a little bit more time consuming, but a lot of our cafeteria managers have sometimes introduced flavors to the students by having little portion cups. If it's tomatoes that they grew at lunchtime, they can just take a little portion cup with maybe 1 or 2 tomatoes into it to try it. Or just to, you know, again, advertise that they grew it in their garden, and they are usually willing to try it. Okay, and that's it. That's the end of our presentation. I hope everybody learned a little something today, and that maybe you're a little bit more willing to look into the garden and see what's growing there and how you can enhance your meals. This is definitely not a way, we're not trying to find more work for everybody, because I know everybody works so hard, and every kitchen and cafeteria staff that I've met has really had the students' best interest at heart. You know, it's just a way of adding a little bit of flavor and using what's growing at the school. Again, the students really enjoy seeing what they grew being served to them, and a lot of times there's a lot of pride involved, and the students are really proud to see that what they grew was useful to more than just being grown, but their students and their classmates are eating it and really enjoying the flavors that it brings to the meal. So if anybody has any questions, they can contact me at the Education Fund, or through Food and Nutrition can contact us and answer any questions. Look for our trainings. We try to continue these trainings in person throughout the school year. And good luck, everybody, and happy cooking.